to the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News analyst Emmanuel Efene. Good morning,
Good morning, Ruben. Good morning, Adesua.
Morning.
Good morning, Rufai.
Morning, Mr.
Yes,
Efene.
let's start with this day, Nigeria's newspaper of records, and for a reason too. Now, the lead story, in major coup, CBN blocks over invoicing, foreign exchange over pricing, introduces product price verification mechanism. Elumelu praises measure. Now, other newspapers are reporting also on the economy. The Punch newspaper, 6.1% shrinking of economy. Federal government won't be able to service rising debts, fund budget. MAN, that's Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, others. Things are tough for average consumer. Inflation going up, manufacturers tackle rising inflation, unemployment, says Lagos Chamber of Industry. Channel Forex into productive sectors, reduce leakages. NECA, that's Nigerian Employers Consultative Association, advises federal government. Now, the Nigerian Tribune newspaper, how COVID-19 oil price crash worsened Nigeria's economy. GDP shrank by 6.1% in second quarter. Transport, construction, real estate, education sectors contracted, according to the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. Recession, highly likely in third quarter, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Now, the Daily Independent newspaper, oil crash, COVID-19 push economy near recession. While the Vanguard newspaper, economy sinks to 3-decade record low as real non-oil GDP records first fall in 3 years. Now, the Daily Trust newspaper, Nigeria's economy records worst decline in 10 years. But there seem to be some bright spots, according to the Guardian newspaper. The Guardian newspaper, banks, telcos defy recession as COVID-19 pandemic lingers. Yes, while we're on lockdown, we talked more, we used data more, and the telecommunications companies apparently smiling to the bank. The banks also are defying this period, the gloomy atmosphere. They are also doing well, according to this report, because if you walk down Awolowo Road, some of the major banks, they only open one branch a week, cutting costs and forcing us to be e-compliant. Ruben, I hope you are in that league now. Yes. Now, let's just look at the foreign newspapers before we talk more. The Daily Express newspaper of UK, BBC backs down in last night of prompts. Land of hope and glory will stay after Prime Minister steps in. But the Daily Mail puts it, this same story, in another way. Surrender is the patriotic finale to last night of the proms, but now BBC say Rule Britannia won't be sung this year after row over the lyric, Britons never shall be slaves. Of course, that debate is on, but to reflect the mood of the times, I think the organizers of this popular concert series at the Royal Albert Hall are now saying that, yes, they won't sing the lyrics, Britons shall never be slaves. Of course, coincidentally, two persons of Nigerian descent are on different sides of the debate. Freedom speech activist Inaya Folarin Imam is saying that the sounds we are talking about brings joy, that they should be allowed to be played. While another Nigerian, Kehinde Andrew, a professor of black history, said the songs are racist propaganda from the British Empire days. That's in the UK. And of course, in the US, the Washington Post is reporting GOP portrays Democrats as a menace. GOP Grand Old Party, that's the Republican Party. While the Wall Street Journal is saying that Republicans nominate Trump won against a Biden victory. Now, that is the situation. If we come back quickly to these day newspapers, the lead story there, Ruben, in major coup, CBN blocks over invoicing FX pricing. Now, this move is part of the continued effort to ensure that scarce forex resources are not frittered away. But these days refer to this practice of over-invoicing and forex overpricing as age-long. Why is it taking the CBN all this long? This is now the time to clamp down on this. Is it not a case of closing the stable after the horse has bolted away? Well, it's never too late to plug leakages, Ruben.
Better late than never.
Yes.
I think it's a good move. It's a good development. It's part of the effort of the CBN to check sharp practices within the forex market. And the two reasons that have been given by the CBN, one, that is a drain on the country's foreign reserve. If people are going through sharp practices of overpricing, mispricing, over-invoicing, divert scarce foreign exchange, then, of course, the CBN has now decided to apply the brakes. So this is a product of necessity, because if there was, very good liquidity, forex supply within the economy, maybe the CBN probably would not bother. But we're in very difficult times. The situation is extreme, and so certain extreme measures have to be applied to plug the loopholes within the system. Now, what the CBN has done basically is to eliminate third parties, agents, who make money through the forex. If you want to import, then you have to take the Form M. It's compulsory. But what they do, what many businesses do through these agents, is that they over-invoice. They will still buy the product from the supplier at the exact amount, and then they divert forex, either to the black market, or they store it abroad. So the CBN is saying, no, that will not be allowed again. And the CBN controls the SMS window where, you access forex. So there's no way around it this time. But my only fear is that in Nigeria, people always try to game the system. No matter how good the policy is, they will find a way around it. I hope that the CBN will insist on that product pricing verification mechanism that it has introduced, which means simply that the CBN, that mechanism will allow it to know the exact cost of whatever raw material, goods or services that you are importing into the country instead of variation. The only problem here is that if there is under-invoicing, then customs will be affected. It means customs will get lower revenue from excise duty. But the transparency and accountability that the CBN is introducing is perfectly in order.
I'll pick up from the point, Dr. Abati, where you talked about gaming the system. I think that's what we should look at very critically. We've had moves as much as possible, to be able to prevent over-invoicing in this country and overpricing of commodity. But when you look at it strongly, people still find a way to game the system. People still have a great level of connivance going on. And this is not good for us. You asked the question, Mr. Feni, that why now? We can see the problems now. Economy contracted 6.1%.
So when you are buoyant, you are careless.
No, it's not that when you are buoyant, you are careless. It's when you are buoyant, you should be careful. But we have not been careful even when we're buoyant in this country. We thought we're having so good a time today, we shouldn't think about tomorrow. But now is the time to think about tomorrow. The economy contracted 6.1%. we have a crisis as regards the currency. Look at the dollar to the naira. Look at the naira to other currencies in the world. We practically do not have a lot of currency to be able to buffer any longer. So it's the time to do what you ought to do to bridge the gap for this. But I just hope a lot of people will not still game the system. Because, like you said rightly, some people put this money abroad. Some people put it in dorm accounts. I remember at a point in this country where we were having a big currency crisis and it was said that we have over $20 billion in dorm accounts circulated around this country.
Well, at Adesua, it was a no-brainer that the economy was going to shrink in that second quarter. But the telcos are smiling to the bank. You talk a lot on phone. You use your data. Ladies especially, I'm not just accusing you. The economy shrank by 6.1% at Adesua.
Yes, indeed. And you know, before COVID-19, many African economies, including that of Nigeria, were struggling. So this was double whammy really for us because the health consequences as well as the economic consequences is what we are dealing with. But there were those that were smiling to the bank, like you have said, like the telcos. I know because COVID-19 has come to change the way we live, indeed. We're now doing things remotely. I remember there was even a fiasco over taxation over those booming sectors. So yes, one man's meat is another man's poison, they say. And in this case, there were those who were smiling to the banks, like we've seen.
Well, Johnson Chukwu, brilliant economist, will be with you shortly.
Yes,
and I'm sure we have a lot to say about the economy.
Before Johnson Chukwu comes, the minus 6.1% GDP contraction is something that many Nigerians are even saying, well, they're even surprised that it is not worse than that, because many analysts expected a double-digit contraction. And Nigeria will seem to have even done better in this season of COVID-19 during quarter two than many countries of the world. The UK, Germany, the United States, France,
Italy.
But we have to think in terms of the implications. It looks like a full-blown recession is imminent because in quarter three, with the easing of the lockdown, the number may not be as high as a minus 6.1%, but we're likely to have a recession. And the question to ask is, what should government do? I'll come back to that. Now, if you look at the sector analysis that you tried to do, yes, I'm surprised that the banks have done very well because, I mean, they were also on shutdown, on lockdown, and yet they've recorded a GDP growth of 28% during Q2. As for the telcos, that's understandable because the telecom companies, the digital economy thrived even in the face of the lockdown, and it's even likely to do much better. But other sectors that did not do well, the media, let's add the media, consulting, trade, and other hospitality, tourism. What that means is that if you fall within that category, there's likely to be layoffs as the businesses try to adjust and prepare for recession. And then if you fall in that sector, don't expect a pay increase. So what do we then do with the rise in unemployment that is likely to happen? I think government needs to do more in terms of social investment. Government needs to stimulate more, particularly the digital economy that we see that is doing well. So the rub of it is in terms of how we respond to this looming recession.
Okay, if we still have some time.
Yes, we do. Go ahead.
Yes. If you look at the front page of this day again, the story beside the photograph, against the run of play, Tambuwal intensifies presidential run. Southern leaders unhappy with bid. Now, according to another report, it seemed to be outsmarting, if you go to the front page of The Guardian newspaper, reporting on this same story, The Guardian newspaper, Nigeria's The Guardian, Obasanjo Tambuwal's meeting stirs PDP. Sources allege plan to urge Secondus stop Atiku. Atiku ahead of Tambuwal, says ex-VP's aide. Party's BOT Board of Trustees chair sues for calm. Now, the rounds being made by Aminu Tambuwal, the governor of Sokoto State, just 1 year into his second term, is gallivanting, pursuing an ambition I hope governance is not suffering in Sokoto, but he has a deputy. Well, but the fact that he's sharing the honestness within the PDP should also be a source of political discourse. But yesterday, I asked the question, where are the southern aspirants? Power should shift to the south. That's the clamor. To the southeast specifically, that is the outcry. Where are the aspirants? Shouldn't they be taking the lead? Our guest yesterday could not answer that question. Shouldn't they be taking the lead? Where is Peter Obi? Is he waiting to be nominated as vice presidential aspirant? He is about the most visible of likely candidates to come out of the southeast. Well, I'm asking this question. Rufai, Ajesua, and Ruben.
It has to be said. I see a rider here. Southern leaders unhappy with bid. Only time will tell. Only time will tell. Thank you so much, Mr.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll keep watching developments in the political space in Nigeria.